Right, let's try that again. Seeing my Zoom just completely dropped out. So there we go. Advanced portion of screen. Me in background. Oh, still nothing. Okay, this is
There we go.
Hey!
fantastic. All right, let's get it off. Let's get going. I don't know what's going on with all this, but nonetheless. So this is what it's about. 5 simple steps to create a plan for 3 years of progress in the next 90 days. Talking to people at the conference last week, which was very good and a lot of fun. And thank you to those of you who made the trek up to see it. I think you found...
Or down.
We're
We
down.
got Dr. Chris up at Sunshine.
Okay, so as usual, this is a BS-free zone. What I'll be talking about is stuff that you can take and use. I suggest that you take some notes. And in fact, there's a couple of exercises in here which you might like to consider using in the breakout rooms after this. Who is this guy? That's me, background. Not going to go through it. As always, time is short. But ask yourself this one question. What is the one thing you're doing today to get you closer to an epic 2025? I mean, we are hitting the tail end of October. The rest of the year's here. Talking to a lot of business people, they're about ready to give up. They're going, no, year's done. It's all right. Guys, it's not. The year isn't done until 11:59 on December the 31st. You should be going down swinging. You shouldn't be just backing off. Let me tell you a quick story about a flood, a boat, and a helicopter. There's a flood. Imagine somewhere in Victoria, there's a flood. There's this very devout guy on top of the roof of his house, and the flood waters are coming up. The SES comes up on one of the little Zodiac things. They say, come on, mate, we'll get you out of here. He says, no, God will look after me. I'm fine. So they argue, he leaves. So they go off and he's there. The waters get up till he's standing on top of the roof. The water's up here. Helicopter comes down, drops the rope. Come on, mate, grab the rope and we'll get you out of here. No, I'm fine. God will save me. It's all okay. So eventually they go away. And of course, the waters rise and he drowns. He ends up at the pearly gates and he meets God and he says, Heaven, God, why didn't you save me? And he said, I sent you a boat and a helicopter. What more do you want, you silly bugger? This is appropriate to talk about here. You guys have a fantastic tool in Be Connected World and amongst the people here, and yet we seem to get caught up in our own little fantasies that someone else is going to save us. Bottom line is Be Connected World's a fantastic tool that you should be using. You should have your profile up there. You should be doing the ads. You should be getting interviewed by Mark Grant. You should be blogging every week, etc., etc., etc. You should also be taking advantage of people like myself who offer half-hour free coaching for nothing, and other people here which help out as well. So for heaven's sake, don't be like the guy standing on the roof expecting God to save him. Be proactive and take some action yourself. Lots of people go into January full of vim, verve and fire and enthusiasm because it's a new year and they've made plans. The gym's full of these sorts of people. They usually disappear by the end of January. For business people, though, normally it takes about March and the edge starts coming off. The real world's impinged, the kids are back at school, but somehow or rather those big plans aren't happening. And then before we know it, it's December and we're in exactly the same spot as we were last year and the year before and the year before that. Problem is not that we've not had a clear path. The problem is our execution has been less than stellar. What it means is quite simply, life gets in the way. Here's the good news. Even though it's near the end of October, you've still got time. If you're going to do any planning between now and the end of the year, or if you're starting to plan for next year, which is really sensible, I would recommend you do that. Why not start by using anti-goals? Write down the things you don't want to see in your business, in your personal life, with your health, in your relationships. Start writing down the things you don't want and then figure out the things you do want, which will get rid of them. Figure out what type of clients you don't want to work with, what type of clients you do want to work with. Essentially work out what it is you want to do next year in your business and your life outside business, and then figure out a plan to get it going. To do that, you can do a thing called creating an anchor. And I'll give you an example of these things in a moment, but an anchor is something that is almost like a filter. It holds you in place no matter what happens during the year. So part of your anchor is you need one word, and that acts as the decision filter for every decision you make. And I'll show you that in the next slide. You need a dream outcome. You need to clearly know where you're headed, and not just in one facet of your life, but where am I headed in my business, in my health, in my relationships, in the things that matter to me? You need to figure out very clearly those things. You need to figure out in terms of business your why. What drives you? Why do you do what you do? And let me tell you, if you do what you do purely and simply to put food on the table and roof over your head, that's fine. It doesn't have to be a big thing like I'm changing the world, I'm removing starvation. Those things are great. At the end of the day, understand honestly what it is that drives you. And if what's driving you is purely and simply looking after your family, that's a lofty, worthy goal. And what you can do is achieve that and work on building higher. And a headline is simply like, how do you want the world to see you and your success? So here's some examples. One word, leverage. So everything you do in business for this particular business, they want to leverage it. They want to make sure they're leveraging their ads, they're leveraging their time with clients, they're leveraging the assets they create. The dream outcome, work 4 hours per day on strategic projects only. Their emotional driver is purely and simply, they want freedom as an owner. They want to be free enough to do what they want, when they want, with the people they want. And their success headline, they'd love to see someone say, owner builds 7-figure education company while working 4-hour days and traveling the world. This is actually a real person, by the way, whose things I've used there. I worked with Matt a number of years ago, and he's taken this whole idea and run it very successfully. In fact, he runs an 8-figure education business. But we use this thing. So we've got one word to act as a filter for every action, leverage in his case. Think about that. So when you go to breakout rooms later on, maybe think about this. What's the one word you use for the next 90 days or the next 12 months as your guide? What's the dream outcome you want to have, say, by the end of the year or by the end of next year? Why does it matter to you? What's your emotional drive? In other words, what's your why? What drives you forward? And lastly, how would you like to see people write about you? If you saw a banner headline in The Guardian, what would it say? What would you like it to say? Step 2 is set up a connected goal system. Many owners talk about goal setting, KPIs, setting targets, and they want to grow revenue, build a team, fix operations, launch products. And they try and do everything at once, and you can't. Avoid that trap. Pick your top 3 goals that will create leverage in your business, if leverage is your word, for instance. So you could create 3 goal umbrellas, if you like. There's a business growth goal. There's a team goal if you've got a team, but a team can simply be you and your VA. You can have goals for them. And there can be a health goal, something to look after for yourself. So think about that. Just instead of worrying about all these things about trying to grow your business and add lots of assets and all this sort of stuff, just pick 3 goals that you can work on for 90 days. Then, of course, what you need to do is you need to build systems. Why? Because goals without systems die. Goals without systems require us to execute by ourselves and to stay motivated. It's really tough. Systems is a really smart way of saying getting habits into a place where they just happen. So what systems do you need to build in your business? Do you need to build a sales system? Do you need to build a marketing system, a delivery system? You know, what systems do you need to build in your personal life? Do you need to create a series of non-negotiables that have things like you're going to work out for 45 minutes a day, you're going to read a chapter of a book a day, whatever it is, work out the systems for yourself. What habits will lock in daily progress? In health, that's the easiest thing to do. It's hard to get up at 5 o'clock every morning and hop on a treadmill, for instance, but if your goal is to lose weight and get fit and healthy, not a bad thing to start with. What tasks can you automate or delegate in the next 90 days? I've spoken to you before. What are recurring tasks that appear in your business and how can you get rid of them or put them in place in such a way they happen automatically? What are you subtracting to create space? We're all busy and we all fill our lives with too much stuff. We fall for the shiny bright object syndrome. We've got too many distractions going on. So what are you doing to subtract space? You know, there's a guy called Dan Go I follow, who is probably one of the world's best personal trainers. And he's very much big on this idea of don't waste your evenings anymore. Stop sitting in front of the TV, stop doing Netflix, start doing something else. So what are you subtracting to create space? Is there things that you're doing? Remember, this is a bit like the to-don't list I've talked about. What things are you doing in your business or your life which really don't serve you and help move you closer to your goal? What daily ritual keeps you locked in? It can be the old Anthony Robbins power move, I feel well, I feel great and all that sort of stuff. What is it that you do every day to try and lock you in? And what weekly ritual? Now, for me, my daily ritual is the 5x5. My weekly ritual is my Sunday planning, which sets up the 5x5 for the rest of the week. But what daily ritual or weekly ritual can you create to keep you locked in? Remember, systems don't require motivation. That's their beauty, and that's the point of having them. The next thing to do is just identify your support circles. And you really need 4 people. You need someone who can help you with a specific issue. You need a mentor you can lean on. You need a team member you can empower. That might be a VA or a staff member. And you need an accountability partner. They might be a colleague, a peer, or a family friend. So the name should be someone who's further ahead of you in business than you are. All right. The mentor should be someone who's done what you want to achieve, or has at least succeeded in a sector of your life that you want help with and you want to understand more about. Your teammate is someone ready to level up. I mean, my VA and I had a great talk yesterday morning, first day of the week, about where she wants to go the next 12 months, what's training she wants to do, etc. And we're going to organise that for her. Your accountability partner is great if you have a peer in the same boat or on the same path. And dare I say again, Be Connected World's probably not a bad place to find some peers to help you. Write down those 4 people and then give them a call this week. All right? Don't just come up with random names. Be intentional. Think about people who could genuinely fulfill each of those 4 roles, right? When you call them, that one conversation might save you days of decision fatigue. And you know what? If you want to achieve your goals, you can't afford to have too many days of inaction in 1925. Good God. Break down your 90 days into weekly foci. In other words, what are you going to focus on next week for the next 10 weeks? Examples may be something like, week 1, I'm going to review my products and services to make sure they're still relevant, they're still attractive, they still meet a need in the marketplace. Week 2, I do a marketing audit and make sure that my marketing, again, is relevant, is reaching the right people, is generating leads. And if it's not, I'll change the plan. Week 3 might be my sales plan. Am I converting enough people when I get them on a call with me? Am I only converting 1 in 10 when I used to convert 4 in 10 or 7 in 10? What do I need to change there? Every week, from week 1 to week 10, put down a task, something that you're going to focus on for that particular week. And let's be honest, there are no guarantees, no plan guarantees results or success. The thing is, you improve your chances of success if you have a plan. The one thing I can guarantee you that won't help you get successful is just going with the flow or just bouncing around and letting life drag you along wherever it is that happens to take you. A 90-day system with a weekly focus on a particular goal will get you closer to where you want to be than guessing for 12 months. Here's another question for you to ask yourself. What will you do next year and the next 90 days that's not the same? Can I please just implore you not to stick your head in the sand? Get some help. Find those 4 people. Write down the names of them. Answer those 4 questions. What's your word? Is it leverage? What's the headline you want to see people writing about you? What's your emotional why? What's driving you to achieve these things? If you'd like a hand, as always, let's have a chat. My details, links and things are in the chat anyway, but that's you can quickly take a snap of the QR code if you prefer before I finish it. That's it, Jay. Thank you.